what do you think the definition of the American dream is?
As far as the immigrant viewpoint, it's people coming to this country and creating a better opportunity than what they had in their home country. I do believe America is the best place to be. I feel like a lot of immigrant children are wasting the sacrifice the parents made to get to this country. I see a lot of my clients, hardworking men, purchasing material from me. I look at their sons, sloppy in a way, like, what are you doing after school? I want to know, are you gonna help your dad? Sometime. Your dad did all his work, his sacrifice, his hands are bleeding every day for you to be a piece of shit. That's not how life works. If you're in this country, your obligation is to succeed.
You're gonna go be an immigration attorney and all of a sudden you're like, nah. What was it about that business that you saw and the belief that you had in yourself to continue going on when your parents are probably in your ear going, hey, go back to this dream?
I had to get away just to focus. I didn't want to have a plan B. I just wanted to go in, all in, plan A. I think the secret to all that was just going all in, having our backs against the wall, We had to prove that this is going to work.
One piece of advice to an entrepreneur that's just on their come up. They may have some doubts going through their mind right now. What piece of advice or wisdom would you leave with them right now?
Don't give up, and remember, everything is temporary. Whatever you're going through, whatever problem, you're going to solve it. You're going to figure it out. Just don't give up. Even life is temporary. Don't worry. You're going to figure it out. Patience, be positive, pray. That's it.
Welcome back to Spartan Leadership. I'm your host, Josh Kosnick. Hey, and welcome if this is your first time. And for you continued Spartans, welcome back. I haven't asked this in a while, so if you haven't done it, please review the show, rate the show on your favorite platform, Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whichever one it is. We've got great ratings. We recently found out we're top 2% podcast in the world. I haven't looked at this stuff. I don't track ratings and stuff of that nature because I just focus on having as much impact as possible. But I know you guys are getting impact if you're sharing these episodes, and that will be no different today. Entrepreneur by profession and world traveler by passion. CEO of Preferred Roofing Supply, husband and father of one little cute dude, Sebastian, the godfather of roofing himself. Please join me in welcoming Paul Salamanca to the show. How we doing, brother?
Good. Thank you, Mr. Kosnick, for having me. It's an honor. Looking forward to giving my insight on my journey as an entrepreneur, and I'm ready to share the knowledge I got.
Well, you're very welcome. I mean, I've been impressed with you. So we've only known each other a short while. I started doing some work with Paul and his wife, Daniela, and they run an amazing business. And I'm like, man, I got to get Paul on the show and share these insights, because one of the things that I focused on and noticed that a lot of times we listen to podcasts with people that are just, so far out in front of us that they're doing great things, but there's these steps in between. And Paul and Daniela have grown a business really fast. And I want to make sure that you guys get some of his big brain today and some of the hustle and effort that's gone into it. And we're going to get some serious heat in today's conversation. So I hope you'll always share these episodes with your teams and mentees, but today especially, if you've been asking yourself how to motivate your team, maybe even your teenage children, the answers lie within this conversation you're about to hear. So, Paul, you've been using your voice and Don Pablo Talks to motivate your community. So yeah, on Instagram, everybody, he goes by Don Pablo.
Yes,
Don Pablo's Life. So follow him, but we'll give that reminder at the end of the show as well. But before we get into your impactful messaging, because I do enjoy following you, let's go back to where it all began. If I'm not mistaken, because we talked about this when we were together in ATL, you're first generation U.S. citizen from El Salvador, correct? Or your family from El Salvador?
Yes, sir. I was born in California. My parents are from El Salvador. So I'm first generation American. I was first generation to go to college, first generation to have a business, first generation to grow wealth. So it's a lot of firsts I'm knocking out in my family, and I'm ready to keep going and being the first of many more things.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Tell a little bit about the show, or tell the audience, what year did your parents immigrate into the U.S. and what was their driving force? You and I talked about this, but I want the audience to hear as well.
So my parents came to America in the 1980s. I was born in 1991. So, when they came to America, they really didn't speak the language. My mom was young enough to get into high school, so she managed to get 2 years of high school, which helped her kickstart her English. My dad just learned working. That's how he learned his English. So me being the first child, being an American, I had to help them a lot as far as translation, because their English was good, but it wasn't excellent. So sometimes I would say, hey, what did she say? What did he do? Or go help them do things. Even though I was a kid, I would help them move differently because they thought I was smarter because I knew English. So in a way, it helped me become independent at a younger age because they would toss me out there on the field. Hey, go tell the banker I need this. So I'll just tell him, hey, dad says that I need to do this. My dad's standing behind me.
Oh,
Go tell them to order this for me. Oh, my dad needs to order 10 staplers from here. So I would be kind of like put up for it. And I was still shy, but it helped me come out of that cage.
You know what's awesome about that? I think about it is my brother who lives in California, his daughter. So his wife is her dad earned his citizenship here by fighting for us in the Vietnam War. And so he's Vietnamese. So, I have nieces that are part Vietnamese, and Suede, his oldest, is fluent in Spanish. And so my brother jokes, he's like, I'll take her to the playground, and she's having full on, and she's like 4 or 5 now, like only 4 or 5 years old. And she's having full on conversations with other nannies and other Spanish speaking kids. And my brother has no idea what they're saying. So she'll be like the opposite translator, for him.
And they would always tell me to like learn Spanish, speak Spanish. It's going to make you more money. And now that I'm an adult, it's true, because my business, I'm a roofing supplier, and my clientele is a Latin community. And how was I able to serve them? By speaking the language, knowing the culture, knowing how they move, negotiate with them, and all in Spanish. But in my head, I was like, I'm going to SBS. I'm not going to need Spanish, go like during the high school years. And now my Spanish is better than it is when I was a kid because I speak it more.
Yeah. That's awesome. So
you don't think you're going to need, but you are going to need it. Because I know a lot of immigrant kids that don't speak Spanish, and it's like a very important tool that I have in my belt, and it's helped me go even further in my career, in my business.
Well, I wish I would have stuck with Spanish, because now I have, and my other brother's married to a Colombian immigrant, and she, is fluent bilingual, and they're teaching their kids Spanish. My brother happened to minor in Spanish, spent a full semester in Spain, and he's fluent. And I wish that I had stuck with it through high school and college now. So I concur with your assessment, whether you're an immigrant that just wants to speak English, or you're born here in America that wants to learn a second language. I think that Spanish is the way to go.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's people that don't speak Spanish, that aren't Hispanic at all. They want to speak Spanish, but the kids, the new generation, like for example, my son, a lot of these kids don't want to speak Spanish, which is weird because they don't get the importance of it. You know what I mean? That, I don't need to speak Spanish. Everyone speaks English. It's weird. So I go up to some kids that are like 19 speaking in Spanish. They're like, oh, I only understand it, but I can't speak it. So I feel like that's where the confusion is. Like, it doesn't make sense to me why they aren't taking advantage of this opportunity. First, they're Hispanic, and then 2, they should be able to speak Spanish. They understand it, but they can't speak it. It's happening more and more.
That's interesting. And you're right. It becomes such a good tool for life, whether it's business or just navigating life in general, being able to speak. I know my wife wishes that she understood Vietnamese when she's getting her nails done, to see if they're actually just talking shit about her, or, So anyhow, in your opinion, so I want to ask this because we have so many headwinds and conversations about immigration right now, because we have people pouring into our country from an illegal sense. And then I have great friends and relatives like my sister-in-law that have immigrated here legally, and her father, who fought for the South Vietnamese in our country, who earned his citizenship legally. And for the most part, it always used to be that people were coming here for the American dream. Now I don't necessarily know if that's true or not, and I don't really want to dive into the political side, but I really want to ask you, what do you think the definition of the American dream is?
The American dream to me is people coming to this country, as far as the immigrant viewpoint, coming to this country and creating a better opportunity than what they had in their home country. Because a lot of people are restricted because of the government, the social status. You can never go from being poor to middle class. So the idea of coming to America is, one, gonna create a better opportunity for your family, either making more money here and helping them out back home, or you bring them all here and you create a different, let's say, upbringing for your children. So
Hmm.
now your children are going to go to these safer schools. They're going to get the proper education. Your wife's going to be at home safe. No one's going to come in the house and break in. You can America gives you a peace of mind, essentially. But I do know that a lot of criminals and a lot of people are coming into the country too, which is giving a bad rep to the immigration side. And it's hard to control immigration. Essentially, I really don't have an answer how we can control and how to separate the good and the bad guys, because just like everything, there's good and bad.
Yeah, there
So
there
it's
is, and
a tough
there's
aspect. But I do believe America is the best place to be. Like, I think that's why I feel like a lot of immigrant children are wasting the sacrifice the parents made to get to this country. It's not easy to get here. Like you said, some people come because of hardships, amnesty. Other people come here illegally. And for you as a child of an immigrant to waste the sacrifice that they did to get here is BS. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, yeah,
if someone told me you got to leave America, leave Danielle and Sebastian, I couldn't do it. To another country where I can't even speak the language and go with no money, I can't even think. Like,
yeah.
immigrants,
It's crazy.
some of the toughest people I know. You know what I mean? Like, someone told me, "Hey, you got to leave, and I'm gonna go to Ireland for a better life for Danielle and Sebastian." I don't think I could do it. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna figure it out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it.
It's
And
tough
so
to put yourself in their shoes.
it is, and the only solution I have so far is like we got to complete a border and have just checks and balances on who comes in and are they coming here for the right reasons. That's the only
But then
real solution I know.
with that is corruption within the government too. Like, there's border patrol that gets paid off.
Yeah, yeah. By the
Never
coyotes
gonna
and all that.
stop.
Yeah,
It's never
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
stop. Just like gun
yeah.
control. You're never gonna get the guns away from the bad guys. There's always gonna be corruption. The tighter it gets, the more corruption there is.
Yeah, that's interesting. That's an interesting take right there. So
It-
I want to ask like how this is shaped. I think you really kind of just answered there. Is you feel an obligation to your parents who fled El Salvador during the Civil War to stand up and be the man that you are today. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that's really kind of what it sounds like. Is like, and it's interesting taking that context from an immigrant for the people like me that were born here. We also have an obligation. Like we were born here, and our parents were born here, and we're not first generation like you were. Like we have that obligation too, and the blessing of being in a country where we can seek and achieve our dreams. But anything more on that? Because I know you feel like you have this obligation to your parents. I just want to make sure we nail this point home because so many people waste their opportunity.
so it is an obligation, I feel like I told you, a lot of talent is being wasted out here. Like, I see a lot of my clients, hardworking men purchasing material from me. I look at their son, they're just vaping. They speak English, or they speak English, and their guys are just sloppy in a way. Like, what are you doing after school? What do you want? I don't know. Yeah. Are you gonna go to college? I don't know. Are you gonna help your dad sometime? And it's like, bro, you're born in America, you speak English, and you're being a piece of shit. Your dad did all his work, his sacrifice, his hands are bleeding every day for you to be a piece of shit. That's not how life works. And that's what the problem with the youth is. So that's why me, it's our job to inspire these guys to keep going and to become different. Because we're in the land of America, man. Anything is possible. I didn't think I could do this. I gave it a shot. I ran with it, and now I'm here. It's crazy, God.
Yeah,
I thank God for everything because I believe in God, and God is the reason I'm here. And second, my will to do things. But I mean,
absolutely.
it's an obligation. Either if you're born in this country, if you're in this country, your obligation is to succeed. That's it.
Yeah, I love it. That's a great message.
There's no reason not to succeed. Doesn't mean you have to be rich, but you can succeed in any aspect, whether philanthropy or just giving speeches out. I mean, there's no reason to do crime, basically. No reason to be a bomb.
No reason to sloth. I love it. All right, we're going to get into the business aspect of it now because we're going to fast forward to you're running a successful business, hitting incredibly impressive numbers. And at that, you came into a business you really knew nothing about, and also a business where there's pretty much a monopoly between ABC Supply and what's the other major one?
So ABC Supply, Beacon, and SRS, Superior Distribution. So these guys are everywhere. If you're in the roofing industry, you've heard of the big three. Then from there, you had lumber yards that did roofing.
Yeah.
Then we started the Hispanics that do roofing supply now. And now if you look across Texas, Georgia, there's so many now because the ripple effect that happens, If one person does a Hispanic grocery store, the other guy sees it and now he's going to do it. So now there's 1,000 Hispanic grocery stores. So Hispanics saw what we did, and now there's a lot of Hispanic roofing suppliers, but we're still kind of the biggest one, the more structured one, the one that brands the best, markets the best, kind of the most known one. I have buddies in Texas that reach out, asking me how I get my trucks. In Georgia, I can't really help my competitors, but I'm willing to help people outside of Georgia, like if they ask me questions. But in Georgia, it's just too competitive to help.
Yeah.
In my market.
I mean, what's crazy is that Paul has really built a incredible business that's approaching 9 figures very, very quickly in a market that most people would be like, oh, ABC Supply, Beacon, these others, these lumber yards, there's no way I could create a market share. And you found this niche in the Hispanic community, which for, outside looking in, the majority of subcontractors that I see are Hispanic. So is in one way, just a really genius move. On the other, it takes a lot of courage to step in and go against some of these behemoths. So talk about like how you got started and some of that origin story of Preferred Roofing Supply, why you chose that path with and have that courage to go against some of these just monsters of business.
So really, I learned about the impact of the Latin dollar when I was young. My uncle started some grocery stores, so I was working in the grocery stores, stocking stuff up, and I would see my uncle making money. Like I would see a Benz. What's a Benz doing here? My family's there, right? My uncle had a Benz, so I saw the impact of the Latin dollar. So my idea was to go to school, and I wanted to be an attorney, because for immigrants, you either got to be a doctor, an accountant, a lawyer, one of those big careers. So I was going to go to college. I went to college, get my degree, and become a lawyer, an immigration attorney, because I knew there was money working with Hispanics. So then when we graduated, I was studying for the LSAT, and my father-in-law has been repairing tools for these guys. He repairs tools for the roofers. So out of nowhere, a roofer came in and was like, hey, I don't have some money. I get paid on Friday. Here's 2 bundles of shingles. Dropped the shingles off. Another guy came in, said, hey, I actually need those 2 bundles of shingles. Here's $60. So then it started happening more often, and my father-in-law was like, guys, there's a need for this in the community for roofing supplies for my clients. Like they're asking me for roofing supply, but I don't know what to do, because my father-in-law, again, my wife is my partner, my business partner. Her dad's in the same situation as me. She's an immigrant as well. Her parents don't speak full-on English. They don't know where to go, get the EIN number, all the good stuff. So eventually, we graduated in May. By October, the 3 of us sat down and we formed Preferred Roofing Supply. So this is 5 months after graduation. We gave up our dreams. I wanted to be a lawyer. I gave that up. My wife wanted to keep pursuing education, get a master's. She gave that up, and we went all in with Preferred. So I think really what helped us kick started was, one, we were young, we had a lot to prove, and we had nothing to lose, essentially. You know what I mean? I didn't have a kid. I didn't have to pay a mortgage. I just had a hustle, and the willingness to succeed. So I think that was like the secret bomb. Like we're just 23 years old. And then again, perseverance, because you are graduating and your friends are getting cool jobs, working corporate. I never got the luxury of working corporate America. I always wanted, my idea of success was a tie, a suit. I never got that privilege to put on a suit. But, in the beginning, my friends were working all these cool jobs, and we're over here dirty in a warehouse, like working a typical Hispanic job, like my parents were disappointed. Like we weren't making money at first, $300 $300 to $400 a week sometimes. So it wasn't looking good in the beginning, but you just had to silence the noise and know that one day this will pay off, And I knew that, people were, that's why I wouldn't promote the business essentially at first on social media and anything, because it was more behind the scenes, it was a lot of dirty work, a lot of tears. I was in scrubs every day. My clothes was getting ripped. I didn't have a truck to deliver. I had to hand unload shingles. It was a lot of physical work. And it wasn't the glamour that you see on social media now, It was exactly.
So let's talk about that briefly, because I think this is where a lot of people miss it. Like, you were your first generation to graduate from college. You're going to go be an immigration attorney. Your parents, I can just imagine, because I've been in those audiences before with whether it's Black families, immigrant families where it's first generation, they're the loudest at a college graduation, right? Like, just so freaking proud. There's like 20 of them there supporting you. I don't know if that was like that for you, but I've seen it. And so they're so proud you're going to go be an immigration attorney. And all of a sudden you're like, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to get my hands dirty. I'm going to start my own thing and I'm making a few $100 a week. So what was it about that business that you saw and the belief that you had in yourself to continue going on when your parents are probably in your ear going, hey, go back to this dream, go back to the white collar, and you probably had friends and stuff like that doing it, because we all have it. So I just want you to key in on that real quick.
So really, I had to get away from home. I mean, I moved out. I went and lived with my father-in-law and my girlfriend at the time. They gave me a spot. It was an hour away from my house, and I had to get away just to focus because I didn't want to have a plan B. I just wanted to go in, all in, plan A. Because, of course, they were telling me, oh, go back to school, do this, or do this on the side, trying to distract me. So I had to get away from all the noise and just focus, Me and my wife, believed in each other. She believed in me. Her father believed in me. That's what they brought me into this. I'm not blood. We weren't even married, but they saw something in me as well. They were like, hey, this guy's a hustler. He can work. He can move. You guys get along. The connection me and my wife have is incredible. She's kind of like the brains behind the operations. I'm more of the force, the vision, seeing where things would go. And I think the secret to all that was just going all in, having our backs against the wall. We had to prove that this is going to work. We had to give all the naysayers prove them wrong, And even when we started Preferred, we had to prove ABC wrong, CRS wrong, SRS wrong. To this day, they still talk crap about us. If an American guy, the regular roofer, comes to our store, they're like, this store's actually legit. I thought it was a hole in the wall, because that's what ABC says about you guys. You get it? They still call us a hole in the wall. Like, they still hate us because we started like a small warehouse. We were a hole in the wall in the beginning, but now we have legit storefronts, legit trucks. Back in the day, we didn't have trucks, so people were always talking ish about us. So it's always going to happen. They're always going to talk ish, but
yep, it never goes away.
We look like their storefronts. We have inventory. We have better prices. We're competing with them. And the thing that I tell people all the time is in my head is that, okay, the branch manager is talking ish about us. The salespeople at ABC are talking ish about us. But the guy from ABC's in my phone trying to purchase us. So it doesn't even matter. You guys are irrelevant. You know what I mean? All the people that talk crap are the ones that don't matter.
Yep. And like he just said, I don't want people to miss that, is the storefront, the branch managers, they're talking crap, but ABC would gladly write a check to Paul and Daniela and buy them out to not have them be a competitor.
I've been approached by two of the three already, thank God. And it's humbling, because you never thought this day would come. I never thought about selling a business. So now it's like, hey, one day will I sell the business? Maybe, who knows? Or will Sebastian run it? Or will someone else run it? There's a lot to think about, but what I tell people is that I'm young and I'm going to keep going forward. That's all I'm going to keep doing. Keep pushing forward and keep growing.
And I know you're hungry and you're still hungry to grow. And what happens when you increase your hunger, your desperation, your focus?
That's the key. That's the only way to keep going. If you lose and start, getting comfortable and, okay, we're good, that's when I feel like you become stagnant. And then like anything else, if you stop growing, you're dying. So if your business don't start going down, that's my biggest fear. 10 years, we've been going up. So it's like, how am I going to keep going up? Because once you get from 1 to 10 million, it's quicker. But once you start getting 50 to 60, 60 to 70, it starts slowing down because you're moving a lot of fucking money and a lot of volume now. So it's harder to keep pushing the needle up. So
Yep.
that's, the breaking points where it's like, all right, how are we going to keep growing to make this thing to last longer,
Yeah. Yeah. Business isn't a straight line, and people should know that. And also what you just said is really key, because they should also know early stages, when you are seeing success, you can see 20, 50, 100% growth years. As you get to 60, 80, 100 million, you may slow down to 8%. You may slow down to 6%, but you're still growing. So it's going to ebb and flow as you go along. And what most established companies see as hypergrowth is actually only 15%. That's hypergrowth to an established business. So what Paul just said there is really key to keep in mind as you continue to grow. In your early stage years, you can grow 100, 400%. But as you get into the large 8 figures, 9 figures, it's much harder to grow that fast. And so you just got to kind of scale up, get the right leaders in place. And that's what Paul and Daniela are working on now. And he's right too. When I'm with them, they're a special couple, because they'll be arguing real briefly and she'll be telling Paul to get off his phone and pay attention. Yeah. And so she'll crack the whip on him and make sure he stays focused on moving the needle forward. So that's good stuff. All right. So you rap about victimhood often on your Don Pablo talks. And I think this is an important message for our next round of leadership and youth to hear. So why is it important that we move from a victim mentality to ownership?
Man, just victims piss me off, man. There's victims, for example, there's victims that are well off. For example, I have a friend whose dad is a millionaire. And this guy was doing well for himself for like 3 years, and out of nowhere, he became a hippie. And I was like, oh, what happened? And he's telling me that the pressure of all his life to be better than his dad made him not want to keep going. And now he's just living a comfortable life somewhere in South America. So in my head, I'm like, victim, Then you have other instances where they're born in poverty. And now they're 40 years old and they're still in poverty. And it's like, just my mom never afforded college for me, or it's like victim, you know what I mean? So it's like victim mentality is bad, and everyone has it. We all want to be victimized. I mean, shit, sometimes I'm like, fuck, this is what I get for being an entrepreneur. I got to talk myself out of it, because our brains are wired to be comfortable, I guess, and negative. So we have to talk to ourselves and listen to content like this and listen to audiobooks and just talk, pray to keep going. Because if not, you're gonna become comfortable and you're gonna victimize yourself. You're gonna be, all right, I got COVID, I'm here, this is it for me. Like, I'm not gonna recover from this. Or, even the people that survive cancer are the strongest people because they didn't accept to be victimized by the disease. They kept going, So it's hard, yes, but victim mentality is the worst thing. We have to get out of that. We have to break that cycle, and our brains don't want us to get out of that cycle. Our brains are negative because the brain likes to be comfortable and not think. That's what the brain likes, Yep. So it's kind of hard. The victim thing. So I think there's a thing where it talks about being a victim or being the hero of your family. You can either be the victim, where you blame everybody else but yourself. You could be invisible, where you're just moving along life, not impacting no one. No one knows who you are. You're just quiet. Or you can be the hero. The hero is the one that's going to impact the community and change the trajectory of your family and of your life. So I feel like we need more heroes out there in society.
Yes. Preach, brother. All right. So you keyed on something really, really good there. The brain is and wants us to stay in that actual victim mentality, whether or not we want to refer to it or not like that. The science, the neuroscience behind it is there's this little tiny piece of our brain called the amygdala, and it magnifies negativity by 200 times. So any information that comes into our brain, that amygdala puts us into that fight or flight thing and magnifies fear, magnifies negativity. And by the way, the media has known this for decades and decades. And that's why they have had this classic line, if it bleeds, it leads. So that's why when you turn on the news at 10 o'clock at night, you will see murder, shooting, this, that. And if they don't have it locally, they'll switch to a globally or national story because it draws your eyeballs to it because your brain is automatically gravitated towards negativity. So we got to know that the hardwiring of our brain works against us. And then what you also said there that I love is we got to learn to talk to ourselves and not listen to ourselves. And John Gordon says that so well, is we got to make sure that, hey, when something triggers negative, we just talk ourselves out of it and keep moving forward.
Yeah,
so I love it.
I used to be negative. I used to be a negative guy because every time, almost small business, I would be afraid when a competitor opens up. I'll be afraid of price increases. Oh no, we're gonna go down. We're not gonna make it. But it took a lot of self-talk and putting myself in listening to podcasts and educating myself, consuming different type of content to help me get and become the person I am now. Because I feel like we all start as negative. I tell my team all the time, we have to talk to ourselves every day because we're all negative. Like no one wants to go to work every day with like this high energy, but you have to get there and act it. And then slowly you'll become more positive.
You've done something really good as well that I've learned about you is as you've continued to scale and grow, like you said, you started this out with your father-in-law and your wife, and now you're leading, a lot of people and you got employees that count on you and you got to continue leveling up. And that's how you sought me out. But you've also gone to Tony Robbins stuff. You've gone to Grant Cardone stuff. You've gone to other masterminds. You're part of Arete Syndicate. Like you keep learning and leveling up. What has that meant to you? And why do you continue to invest tens of thousands of dollars into yourself?
Essentially it's about growing. I feel like here at home, I'm working, but I really don't have anyone to call. Hey, how you doing, man? I just got hit with this IRS bill or stuff like that. So I want to put I can't go to my dad for all these questions. I can't go to my father because no one has been there.
Yeah.
No one has been in my shoes per se. So I want to be around more like-minded individuals, more high-level individuals. I never know who I might meet. I just met the guy from Hostage Tape, pretty cool guy. I met the guy who invented silly bands. So obviously, you go to these masterminds, first encounter, you meet them. So next time you meet them, you're going to bring some value, try to develop a relationship. So it's all about seeing these people more and more often and getting in more rooms with them. So I feel like I've learned a lot. It's definitely all the time these people speak. We have leaders like Ed Milet. That's my favorite person out there right now. I listen to all his content. Being a part of his group has impacted me a lot. This right, Mr. Josh. But besides that, hearing Ed speak is always motivation, inspiring and motivational. And then being next to him and knowing him greeting you by your name is just another level. So I like being the smallest in a room as well, because it humbles you. It makes you, all right, man, I'm not shit. Time to go back to work. So I like being the smallest because back home, I feel like I'm not the biggest, but in my circle, sometimes I'm the biggest. And I don't like that feeling. I want to be the smallest.
You just reminded me of something. So he greeted you by your name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For like pictures.
So what's interesting about that, he greeted me by my name when I first met him too. That was back in 2021. So at these smaller events, this is a great lesson for everyone to hear. So the event Paul went to, there was probably about 60 to 80 people, right?
It was small.
So I went to the one in Miami in 2021 where I met him for the first time. There was 70 people there. On his plane ride there, I know this for a fact because now Paul just confirmed it. He studies who's going to be at these events. So he knew my name he must have had a picture and a profile. And he must have had a picture and a profile for Paul and everyone that was going to the event in Charlotte or Savannah. I'm sorry. So when you go to shake his hand, he's greeting you by your first name, just like he did with me. Like, think about that. Someone that's if not a billionaire, very close to being a billionaire, that's putting on an event, and he's going to memorize 60 to 80 people's faces and names before he gets there so that he can greet them and show them the respect by knowing their first name.
It's awesome. Amazing. And I've been around Grant Cardone, Andy Elliott's another top dog that's very down to earth, great guy, knows you by name, gives you his number. So Andy Elliott, I can vouch for that guy. He's a pretty cool salesman. I don't know if you heard of him.
Yep.
And Ed Milet, those two are like down to earth and are very approachable guys.
Yeah, very good. All right. So I want to wrap up here with a couple different things. Your parents proud of you now?
Oh yeah. Yeah. But my dad works with me now.
That's awesome. Yeah. So I was telling my wife this last night. I got home late. I had an all day where I was coaching and helping someone that reached out to me that wanted to spend a day to bounce some ideas off of me and just brainstorm and help him navigate his business. And we're acquaintances, but not like close friends. We become, we can hang out and have some good drinks and laughs and whatever. But I was laying next to my wife last night, and I said, what's interesting, because she's just starting her nutrition business. And I was like, what's interesting, honey? The people closest to you that you think will do business with you will try and either pick your brain for free, or they'll hate on you at first, or tell you shouldn't have done that, or go get a safe job, or whatever it may be. And then you'll have these people that are strangers or acquaintances that have no problem writing you a check at first, right? They'll write you a check because they value your time, your expertise, stuff of that nature. And you would think that should come from some of your best friends or the people that you know best at first, but they're going to reserve. And so I think about the Bible when Jesus says that you're never a prophet in your own land. And so and Ed's even talked about this after years, and Andy's talked about this as well. I've heard them both, that, once you become an uber success and you've proven beyond a shadow of doubt, then those family members, then those close friends, then they all circle back and go, I always knew Paul was going to make it. He was going to be the man, that he was going to be uber successful. And this was the best idea ever. So it's just interesting how that dichotomy works amongst people that are closest to us. And now your dad's working with you. I'm sure your mom beams ear to ear every time she sees your grandson and all the different stuff that you guys are accomplishing. So I just want to talk about that.
That's the beauty of success, like the cars, the clothes, all that. It's just like a 1 second high. That's it. It goes away. But the impact, oh, mom, your mortgage is covered. Your dad, he's in your truck. That type of stuff that you can do with your family and beyond your family, that's what success is, the things you can do with your money, not the things you can buy with it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. What's the best gift or most special moment you've given your parents?
Well, my parents are divorced, so definitely I paid my mom and dad's mortgages off. So that was a pretty badass thing. And then just taking them on trips, whatever they need, they know they're good. And they can retire, but they want to help. My dad wants to work with me, He cares about the business as much as I do. He likes being there. He's obviously not, sweating, but he's there monitoring, making sure everything's running smoothly. My mom's always checking in on me. So it's just a blessing, man. And I'm glad I made it in their eyes, and I want to keep making them proud.
Yeah. That's what's so special. That's awesome. What about your father-in-law? What cool stuff have you guys done for him as you and Daniela, owe a lot of this to his idea and helping you guys at the beginning?
Yeah, my father-in-law, man, he's very charismatic. So I definitely bit off a lot of his jokes, a lot of his sarcasm, a lot of the way he moves with clients. That's his key to success, who he is as a person. Just an amazing guy. And we literally, he lives like 2 minutes from me, so I'm always seeing him. I have a nice house, he has a nice house. Nice car, so we're kind of moving together. We go on trips together. We're essentially best friends, so no
That's
complaints.
Awesome. It's a blessing to have great in-laws. I have great in-laws. My father-in-law.
Don't ask me what I give my wife, because, man, it's embarrassing. She gets whatever she wants. She gets the best, man, but she deserves it all.
If you could leave one piece of advice to an entrepreneur that's just on their come up, Like they're just starting, but they're struggling, and they, they may have some doubts going through their mind right now. They may have their first struggles with their employees or payroll or something of that nature, that they're just, all that stuff you and I have both been through. What piece of advice or wisdom would you leave with them right now?
It's going to sound cheesy, but I'm just going to say, don't give up, and remember everything is temporary. That's it. Because there's so many times where you want to give up. I could have gave up, I think I told you, year 2, we're 24 years old, and we got sued. Our truck flipped. Our first truck and our first employee flipped the truck. And thank God he didn't die, and we got sued. We could have closed our doors, and I would not be here a millionaire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll still be broke. Who knows where I would be? But I would not be here if I would have gave up. This is too much. Like, this is too much for me. I'm going to go back to school. But I didn't give up. We didn't give up. And there's so many other hardships where we didn't give up. So that's when I was like, everything is temporary. Whatever you're going through, whatever problem, you're going to solve it. You're going to figure it out. Just don't give up. It's going to be a headache for a year, maybe 6 months, whatever, but it's just temporary. Everything, even life. Think about it that way. Life is temporary. Don't worry. You're going to figure it out. Patience, be positive, pray. That's it.
And then seek wisdom from people that know better, like Paul, like the people that you can put around yourself. Give me a buzz, hit me up in DMs if you need that encouragement. Happy to provide that for you.
Not to say that the wisdom, for example, the first 8 years, we just had to figure it out by ourselves. We had no one. We couldn't afford to talk to Kosnick, for example. So sometimes I feel like people hold themselves back because they don't have that helping hand to reach out to. But that's an excuse as well. You have to figure it out by yourself. Like, no one's gonna come save you. Now, okay, Kosnick's here helping me. But at first he wasn't there. No one was holding our hands like, this is how you got to do it. No, you got try and error. Fall and get up. Because I feel like too many people, I don't have a partner. I don't have this. I don't have that. I don't have the guidance. I don't have the mentor. I don't have the money to pay for it. That's just an excuse. You'll figure it out as you go.
And so if you can't figure it out, seek help. And I would say this, sometimes people don't ask for help because they don't have the humility to ask for help. They may have some mentors or people in their life, or you have no idea. There's some phenomenal people on Instagram that have really big names, and I'm not going to call them out right now just because I don't want you guys flooding their DMs, but like, you'd be surprised if you just humbled yourself and reached out with a genuine care and question, who you'd get a response from. It's pretty crazy nowadays. We have that at our fingertips that we never used to have 2-3 decades ago. So use those tools.
That's true.
Man, been such a great conversation today. Oh, I want to talk about social media quick, because this is something you've got on and grown pretty quickly. So before I ask you my final question that I always ask everyone, what has been powerful and the most unique things that have happened since you've been more public with your success and motivation on Instagram and other social media platforms?
So I started doing it when my son was born. I started creating content. Before I would just post a picture of my trip, a picture of this. But I wanted my son to be able to look back and be like, oh man, my dad was such a smart guy. My dad was a badass motherfucker. You know what I mean? I wanted to kind of like document things and give him knowledge. So that's really what it is. If you look back, he was born on the 2nd of December. I started making content like 7 days after that. So once I started creating the content, obviously I started getting help because I need an editor. But once I got that, that's really when it started taking off. And it's only been a year and 2 months since I've been creating content. And the impact, the messages you get, the questions you start getting from people that you don't even know, that's what's inspired me to keep going. Like, people from out of nowhere or from other states are reaching out, asking me questions. People are asking me if I have a mentorship program, but I don't yet. But one day, now I know that that's a possibility.
Yep.
So, it's pretty cool the amount of reach you can do. And the way I look at it is, a lot of people don't want to do content because they're like, I'm only going to get 100 views. But that's fine. Imagine being in a room speaking to 100 people. That's fine. Speaking to 20 people, that's 20 views. Oh, that's amazing. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
If you look at views that way, anybody could do content.
Yeah.
5 views. You're speaking in front of 5 people. That's pretty cool. I don't mind 5 people.
Yeah. That are really going to be impacted by the words that are coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, so it's pretty cool, when you look at numbers that way versus worried about, oh my God, 500 views, that's nothing. We get sometimes too sucked in the likes and the views.
Yep.
Put it out there, it's gonna pick up.
Bert Kreischer was on Ed Milet's show recently, and he's my favorite comedian out there right now. So it was great to see a mentor interview my favorite comedian. And he said something that stuck with me as you were just mentioning here. It came to mind. Ed asked him about what he wants his legacy to be. And he basically said something to the effect of, he goes, what would be cool? If I had a solid 100 people, solid 100, that after I passed, they're in a situation or at a party or whatever, it'd be a lot cooler if Bert was here right now. What would make this party better? Is if Bert walked in that door right now.
Yeah.
He's like, if I had 100 people like that miss me like that, I'm good with it. And so you think about like the 100 views, right? Or whatever, then someone may think that's not meaningful. You have the biggest comedian in the world would say, if I had a solid 100 that just cared enough about me to say, this situation would be a whole lot better if Bert was here right now. So I just, as you said that came to mind. I'm like, yeah, forget the views. Think about the impact. That's what's important on social media. We need less, and we've said this on the show before, less influencers, more impactors on social media. And Paul's certainly doing that. Remember, follow him at Don Pablo Talks. Anyway, at Don Pablo's Life. At Don Pablo's Life. That's right. But Don Pablo does talk. So
Pablo Talks is the hashtag.
That's right. Where else can they follow you? What else would you leave them with as we're closing out here? Is that the best place to follow?
Yes, you can follow me on TikTok, same name everywhere, Don Pablo's Life, YouTube, and Instagram. My company is Preferred Roofing Supply. We only distribute building materials in Georgia for now, but we have 4 locations: Chamblee, Jonesboro, Tucker, Smyrna. So if you're in Georgia, please reach out to us. We definitely would love to sit down and talk to you all about pricing. We work with investors, contractors, homeowners, whatever you guys need regarding roofing, siding, and tools, we got you.
That's right. Always be promoting. All right, last question. What is an unpopular belief that you hold to be true that most others would disagree with?
Yeah, I feel like God is the secret to a lot of success. Because then you look at a guy that's, I see it happen all the time. Celebrities, for example, they reach so much success, but deep down inside, I know that there's a lack of God in their life because of the life choices they make. For example, you look at P. Diddy, one of the most influential African Americans out there. I used to look up to the man. And if he was a God-loving man, he would not be going through all this BS where, now he's getting harassment cases, underage sex, getting involved with other men, like all this crazy stuff that someone that is a faithful man to God would not be doing. You know what I mean? And like I tell people, I'm married with my wife and I'm married through the church. So I pray to God I'm never going to divorce. There's never going to be anything that's going to make us divorce. But one, I'm married with God as well. I made a promise to God that I'm always going to be with her. So I feel like God makes me move differently as well. Like I don't do a lot of things. I don't put myself in certain situations because one, I know it's not in God's favor or God's will. So I'm going to move differently. I'm not going to do a lot of things that the world wants me to do. That's normal. Like divorce is becoming normal. That shit ain't normal. You're not supposed to divorce, marry 3 people in your lifetime. But that's just my opinion.
No, I love it. And I want to acknowledge you because you're keeping what's most important because money can get to a lot of people's heads. And especially as you've worked so hard over these years, coming from making $300-400 to millions of dollars, like that shit can go to people's head. And keeping what's most important first, God and your family, that takes a lot of courage, especially in today's society.
One more thing about God, though, like my grandparents, a lot of people talk about the rich man not being in God's favor, which makes, it's very controversial because you can't serve God and money, right? So you always have to put God first And man, you can still be a rich guy that loves God and believes in God, but some people that are too religious, like you can't have money, you're the devil, la, la, la. You just think about money. That's not true, guys. Ryan Pineda is a good one you guys should follow if you're having that issue with money and God.
Yeah.
But you can be a rich man and still be in God's favor. It's okay, guys.
Yes. Preach, preach, preach. All right, we're going to wrap up here. Make sure you guys go follow at Don Pablo's Life.
Thank you for having us. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. You poured into our audience today. I know they're going to get a lot out of this. Spartans, you know what to do. Go like, share the show, do all the things all those YouTube kids tell us to do. And remember, the good and great are the enemies of possible. Lead like a Spartan today.